We are going about the room, tending to all of you now. Allow anything that does not serve you to just get flushed down that grounding cord. And if something feels a little stuck, ask us to help. For the energies flowing to your world now are coming stronger, and you are more able to release the lower vibrations, we shall say, a little easier than before, if you tried years ago. But of course, it is up to you to decide if it's something that serves you or not. This medium, she knows I am one of her chiefs. It was a surprise. There are many standing behind all of you, beside you, all around, assisting with your own release work. Think of it as a dusting off. You do your spring cleaning in your homes, maybe even clean out the garage. But we find many don't do the internal cleaning. For it seems like more work. And it's just a different type of process. It's an inner journey. And for those who have the courage to tune in, it is a worthwhile process of awakening and enlightenment and freedom from what weighed them down. But many who are in fear turn their back and try to avoid those heavier emotions, the memories, the things that are bothering them. This medium, we just showed her an image. She's laughing. When you have children, and perhaps even when you were a child, you take a bath and you have a little rubber ducky or a toy in the water. What happens when you push it under the water and then let it go? It pops back up to the top, right? So no matter how hard you try to push something from the air, which is a lighter vibration, to the water, which is heavier and denser, at some point, it has to resurface, because you can't hold it underwater or push it down forever. And the longer you hold it, the longer you avoid looking at some call it shadow. It could be darkness, but it is just the lower vibrations and memories and experiences and perhaps lessons that were difficult, challenging, painful. But they all brought you to where you are now. But so many we see, they're still trying to use their two hands and stuff a whole dozen rubber duckies underwater. Can you imagine that? It's pointless. You can't keep up with it. Are you enjoying this analogy? You're not laughing. It's funny, is it not? But you understand, yes?
Yes.
But when you think about it, it is very simple. The key is to not try to stuff it down in the first place. When you're playing with your toys, for those that like to take a bath, or perhaps when you're swimming in a pool and you're playing with toys, think of children. And you were all children at once, so you all must have done this. Where you had the inflatable balls and that sort of thing that floated on the top of the water and you bounced it around and everything, and if you tried to hold it underwater and lay on it, you popped up or you rolled over because it couldn't be done because of the displacement. But that's different. We're talking about literally just seeing what's on the surface, because it's a lot easier. Just like when you wash your cars or you wipe off a table or your dishes, you're cleaning the surface. Isn't it easier to clean the surface than when you're trying to dig something out? Just like when this medium's thinking of cutting the grass versus digging up the ivy. That was a chore. It's a lot harder to dig out something and clean out something that has dug itself in and been suppressed and buried for years or decades. And so we ask you, as things begin to shift up into your awareness, see it for what it is. Try not to avoid it. For if you try to avoid it, that's like pushing it under the water. And it only will pop up later when you're not ready for it. And when you're not expecting it. So if you deal with whatever is in your experience in the moment, in the now, you've heard this phrase, you only have the now, then you have processed it. And it no longer is there to deal with later, trying to heal, trying to release, trying to learn from, because that is where it becomes very unpleasant. Because when you think about something that has been suppressed for a long time, it begins to fester and become more difficult. It has more roots, if you want the plant analogy. It spreads because once you push one thing down, usually you push more on top of it, or related experiences or emotions, thinking, oh, I can't deal with this right now. I don't want to deal with this right now. It's too much. But if you can just pause as you are now, visualize and intend the Creator energy to flow through you, bathing you with the gold and the pink and the silver, and make the connection simply by the intention and the thought, then in that instant you have all the tools you need to observe whatever it is that could be challenging or upsetting you in the now. And when you are in the now, in that alignment with Source, then you can respond. And other teachers have already explained, you want to respond to something from a conscious awareness of whatever it is you are looking at or feeling, as opposed to reacting, which is a gut sort of reaction. It's a fight or flight type of thing. It's not just instinct, it's based in fear. It's negative. The response is from a state of awareness, and the reaction is not. So if you are in the now, you can be the observer, as though taking the higher perspective of whatever it is, as though you're potentially, we've done this many times, as though you're watching a movie of whatever is unfolding before you. And if you're watching a movie of your own life, of whatever is going on in the moment, you can always turn the TV off or the movie off. But you have your own lives. So even though you know you can't completely turn it off, you can turn the volume down, you can turn the volume off, but still see the pictures, whatever it is, so that you can be a little more detached and be the observer as opposed to in the weeds, rolling around like, others have said, like a pig in mud. If you try to get a pig out of the mud, you will end up in the mud with the pig. And that gets you all dirty too. So, do you understand these words? We're bouncing around a little bit, but we want you to understand that the energies you have access to, not only from your source, but the ones that are, we'll say, bathing your world at this time, are shifting you into levels of vibration that will allow you to release and heal these wounded type areas much easier. You still have to look at things that you buried and pushed down. But we're asking you to, if something comes up from this point forward, allow it to stay on the surface and just observe it from a detached point of view while being in alignment. And then respond. And there are, we have not said this before, but there are 3 ways to respond. You make a decision, you don't make a decision, or you wait for more information and later choose to make a decision or not. But even choosing to not make a decision and wait is a decision. You just are waiting for more information, perhaps. Like, one was talking about planning a trip. Well, you have to make decisions on some things, but other things you have to wait until you get more information. Yes? It is the same with anything and any experience you have in your life. And so we simply ask you to just, from your higher state of awareness that you have been, we shall say, in training, studying, practicing, learning, from your higher state of awareness of your life and what is going on around you and how you are feeling in every moment, practice being the observer. When something comes up that perhaps some of you use the word tests you, challenges you, catches you by surprise, not in a, we shall say, positive way. You would normally, years ago, reacted negatively. Understand? So keep things on the surface and deal with it by the observer. Because if you when you get to the point where you can observe what is going on around you, more specifically with your life, from a neutral standpoint, and see things for what they are, simply events, neither positive or negative, just experiences. And then you get to choose what lessons came out of it. Doesn't have to be positive or negative. That is a judgment on your part of what something feels like, because you have been taught to judge everything that you see and experience from the time you were children. Everyone. And that is why there are so many, we shall say, disruptions. One person to another, because they are all judging each other. When you get to the point of non-judgment and simply being in a space of And we will just say compassion, for that is easier than unconditional love for your fellow people. When you can stand in a state of compassion and non-judgment and detachment as an observer, you will be able to hold a higher vibration because you will be able to choose how to respond, how you wish to respond. And most of you are learning and practicing this almost on a daily basis on a, we shall say, smaller scale. But the more you practice, the better you become. And just as with any new skill set, the more you practice, the easier it gets. Because with all the changes and all of the vibrational shifts that are occurring on your world and are yet to unfold, so many, and some of you are already anticipating some things that you are mentally prepared, and others are not so mentally prepared yet because they have not, we'll say, become aware of potential events or potential unfoldings. And even though you do not know, or you do know, you don't know how or when anything will happen. Regardless, in anything in your life, you don't know how or when anything is going to happen, and it is not your job to know that. The universe is unfolding in divine timing based on the collective consciousness of all who are part of this world. And the masses are still asleep. And so they are still focused on the old paradigm. However, the more your vibration is increased and aligned with Source, you have a, we shall say, heightened level of attraction, heightened level of potential, energy, vibration, compared to the lower vibrating people. So one high vibrational person in a room can affect, just think of, okay, the medium is thinking of, if some of you could stay in alignment, and some of you already know you can. If you went into a bar where there is much low energy, first of all, you already know you're not comfortable going into those places because of the lower vibrational beings that are there with the people that frequent those energies. Yes? You understand? Yes. But if you could maintain the alignment like you are right now, and even later when you completely feel and remember yourselves as light beings and hold that high vibration when we do the later work, if you could go in as your angelic light being self and radiate that vibration, you would affect everyone in the room, in the entire area. The key is to not allow anything that's happening in that sort of venue to affect your vibration to the point where it gets lowered. And that takes a lot of practice. And so, we don't advise that you test yourselves. Simply focus on your day-to-day life because there is enough, we shall say, stimuli to challenge you on a regular basis as opposed to having it amplified in a situation such as a bar. So there's no reason to test yourself or your strength, if you want to think of it that way. But one person with a very high vibrating frequency can affect all of the others, and they won't know why you are making them feel a little uncomfortable, because your vibration will be affecting theirs. And it will for lack of a better term, disrupt their lower vibration, shifting them into slightly higher vibrations to something they are not accustomed to, making them feel uncomfortable. And if someone feels uncomfortable around another person, do they stay in their vicinity? No. Right? You wouldn't either. Yet, in this instant, they would not be comfortable in your space. And you are just holding your light. And that is what all we are asking you to do. Hold your light. And when some sort of situation, event, experience, person has a lower vibration, comes into your experience or your awareness, check and see how you respond or react in a state of higher awareness with the intention to be more aware and to learn, to fine-tune your sensitivities and knowingness of self-awareness so that you don't react as often as you may have in the past. And anything that is in front of you that you know is upsetting all these other people around you, when you can be an observer, a detached observer, holding a space of compassion for all involved, then you have a higher level perspective and you are not feeding any more lower vibrational energies into your environment, your space, and your being. Much less trying to push down anything new that is happening that you don't want to deal with. So being an observer, think of it as you raise your vibration and your consciousness elevates, you automatically shift into a different perspective of awareness of what is going on around you, what is going on with the people around you, and in your own life. And that is why, dear ones, for those of your friends and family that are of lower consciousness, and we shall say lower vibration and less evolved consciousness, for they are all on their own path. Wherever they are meant to be is exactly where they are meant to be for them. But they will not understand a word you say from your higher state of awareness perspective. And some of you, even this medium, has done it. She did it last night, and she's laughing now because she realizes she had no idea what we were going to speak about this night, and she felt very uncomfortable, but she was strongly felt the intuition to say something to those she was having dinner with last night, already knowing that they were not ready to hear it. But she held her neutrality and a state of compassion and simply stated facts that were not known to the other person, who was very much programmed, like most of your friends and family. And so she wondered why she's being sort of guided to spend time with some of these people. And she understood that just by holding her vibration, she was affecting them. And maybe that was why she was being there, aside from also just practicing her old language to prepare to go to France next year. Which is quite funny. She's having a good time trying to speak the language, but it's been so long that it's all garbled with Portuguese. So it's quite amusing for her. And the others, and they're very kind. But she held her tongue the last time because she knew that she could feel the energy. And all of you already know this. For when you're around other people, you know intuitively whether they're ready for higher states of awareness information. Yes, you know it. Do you understand? Your friends, your family, especially your family, most of you, none of them would be ready to hear half of what you would discuss freely if all of you went out to have a meal. The other tables around you probably wouldn't even hear you because the vibration would be so much higher that it wouldn't even come into their awareness. And if it did, even a few pieces of it, maybe you just plant seeds that would germinate later. But she realized that it wasn't, and she was questioning and asking for guidance when she drove home after this conversation. And she had to clear the person's energy out of her space because she could feel the person react negatively to what she said, even though she was being completely in a state of neutrality and observation and stating facts that she had learned that weren't public knowledge. And so it was an example. It was a lesson in what we are teaching right now. She stayed neutral, but she also felt the, we will say, lower vibrational reaction, especially of the person who was very intent on their perspective. And the only way she could usually describe it, perhaps all of you have felt this, is as though there were little prickly thorns type of things that were in her space, and the other person is completely oblivious to energy. Yet, they sent this out to her. And she felt it. And she, and all of you, hopefully at some point, if you don't, she will teach you tools to clear these energies out of your space rapidly. And as soon as you become aware of them, just do it. Because you don't want, this is like the rubber ducky in the bath, pushing it down and letting it stay in your space. Because then it festers, and then your mind goes all over the place analyzing the conversation and this and that, and you circle around, and you know how it goes. You try to go to sleep and you can't shut your mind off. Right? You've all had that experience, yes? That is because the other people's energies are still in your space. You are still living in the past. Even if it happened a day or two or an hour ago, if that conversation is still going on in your mind, you are not in the present moment. You are still in the past, which means your energies are focused in the past. You cannot create from focusing on the past. You must be in the present moment, in the now. Because now is where you create from. Now is where you focus whatever it is your intended, we'll say feelings, but when you are aware of rehashing things that were in the past, even if it was an hour ago with friends or family at a dinner, your energies are focused in the past. And the longer you stay there, the more energy you give to that, which is why it gets harder and harder for that little gerbil on a wheel in your brain to shut off. Because you keep feeding it more energy, like giving fuel to a fire. You keep feeding it. You want it to go out, yet you keep feeding it. And you wonder why you can't shut your brain off. Because you keep feeding attention to it. And at some point, and you all have done this, and that's why we're saying everyone here is no better or worse than anyone else. You're still practicing, you're still learning. It's just a matter of how much awareness you yourself have of your own space, your own feelings, your own emotions, your own vibration. And the more aware you become, the easier it will be for you to make conscious choices to shift your vibration. And then, as you raise your vibration and you become more aware, that is when your consciousness expands, because you're learning to have a different perspective, and you become more neutral. So the more you progress, don't be surprised if sometimes People think you are just, that you don't care about whatever's going on, or you don't care what they're talking about. You can have compassion, but you don't have to get into the weeds of their drama. Do not get in the drama. Hold your compassion, hold your light, and keep your vibration in alignment as high as you can. For that is your highest good. And if you can do that most of your day and shift out of the lower vibrations as quickly as you can, because it will happen. You are human, you have emotions, you have ups and downs. But we want you more up than down. There are enough people that are down all day around some of you. And you must manage your own frequency, your own energetic space. Because only you can. Just like only you have your own thoughts. You are responsible for your space, for your vibration, for your awareness, for your intentions. No one can do that for you because they are creating their own life for themselves, whether they are aware of it or not. And so do you understand how important it is for you to be aware of what you are feeling? Because that is your key. You will know when you can sit and hold a loving, compassionate, mostly compassionate. For some, it's easier for compassion. If you can sit and hold a compassionate, aligned space for someone to share their woes for a short time. Do not let them go off for hours, because that will drag you down. You want to be there for friends or family. Some of you. More so than others. And it is okay. Everyone has their path. Have your boundaries. Healthy, energetic boundaries. Limits on your space and your time. For if you allow someone to keep, we will just say, dumping their negativity on you for hours and hours, eventually, because you have not yet learned that that does not support them, that only adds it is like reinforcing what they are saying. The longer you allow someone to keep going on and on and on about what is wrong, as opposed to hearing them out and say, look, concisely perhaps say, look, I'm here to listen to you. Concisely, in a few words, can you say what's going on? And then just let me sit with it and I'll see if there's any guidance. Or if someone wants to completely say their whole life story. Dear ones, it's one thing to hold a compassionate space and it's another for someone to use you as a garbage can. Do not. That is part of you owning your space and knowing your worth and not allowing those vibrations into your space for any longer than you are comfortable. It is not something to be guilty about. It is not something to be ashamed of. You are in charge. You are responsible for your vibration. And if it doesn't feel good in your space, it is completely within your knowingness, your divine right to say, I love you, but right now I can't talk about this anymore. It's time to go. Because if you tell someone, and this medium has done this, she cut a friend off, not recently, who on the phone was just throwing all of her baggage at her. And she was feeling, the medium was feeling as though energetic daggers were coming through the phone into her solar plexus. And after a minute or two, when she finally had enough, because this had been going on almost every phone call whenever it would happen, and luckily they were not frequent. It could be months before another phone call. but she wanted to be there and hold a compassionate space for a friend. But when enough hit enough, she finally said, look, you need to realize that how you were talking to me right now feels like this, and you need to stop it because it's not helping you and it's hurting me. I can't help you while you are throwing energetic daggers at me. And the person understood enough about the energy, luckily, but she was not aware that this is what the energies felt like, because she wasn't even aware how the energies felt like within her own being. When people are in these low vibrations and they are spiraling downward like a whirlpool, think of it as, these in your movies, they have a whirlpool that sucks down the ships. They spiral and they go down. If you get stuck in that whirlpool, they're going to pull you down. So you need to stay in a higher perspective. But if the person doesn't realize they're in this spiral and they're going down, find the words to show them, help them understand that what they are discussing, what they are saying, even though they want someone to talk about their woes, because they might not have anyone else, if that is what they focus on, that is what they create more of. And so things just keep getting worse and more unpleasant. And they wonder why they keep getting more miserable. And most people, when they are so miserable, they're not going to hear that they're creating more misery. You know this, right? They can't hear you. They can't hear logic. They can't hear rational thinking. So hold a space of compassion and just say, I'm just going to pray for you, or whatever words come from, ask your guides. But you must intervene and draw a line in the conversation. Explain to them that their vibration is harming you, because they don't have that intention. And normally that is enough to shock someone, because those that are your friends, they don't want to harm you, not intentionally, but they don't realize that when they get on these gripe sessions that we see so often, and so many people just go on and on and on, not only are they perpetuating their own misery, but they're trying to pull other people in with them. And that's you. And if you don't want that, you have every right to say no. From a space of compassion for them, hold the space. But if you must hang up the phone, hang up the phone. But realize also, if you feel the reaction of guilt or shame or any of those vibrations, emotions, by doing something like this, then you have programs that are in your mental patterns that you must deal with and work on releasing. Because the goal here is to stay in a state of compassion, neutrality, higher perspective, and detachment. Because that is the only way you can have a higher perspective on someone's issues and maybe get some clarity and guidance that will actually help them, as opposed to letting them drag you down with them. So for whatever reason, we needed to say those examples to whoever it applies to, whoever you need to share it with. But your role, your job every day is to just maintain your vibration as high as you can and feel as good as you can. It can be so simple in words, in deeds, and in actions. Eventually it becomes easier as you release the negative energies and the limiting belief patterns. It becomes much easier, dear ones. That is why only you can do the work, to do the detective work as to what's in your space, who's in your space, what thoughts do you have that are preventing you from feeling as good as you would like, and then do the work call in your spiritual support team. And some of us, you all have guides and chiefs and all sorts of angels as part of your teams. So call in your team. You can just say, okay, team, I need some help. And close your eyes as you are now. Visualize the gold light from your Creator streaming down through you, in your crown, going in through all of your energy centers, through all the way down to the center of the earth, connecting. Allow the earth energy, as you're grounded, to flow up, a gentle green healing vibration, blending in your heart space with the gold. Feel your Earth Mother's vibration assisting with this release work now, as you also receive the silver rays of compassion bathing over you. And anything that was, we'll just say, loosened up in the conversation as we were teaching, whatever was shook to the surface, so to speak, whatever little rubber duckies were starting to pop up, ask for help now to release them. And stay in this beautiful energy of wisdom and compassion and healing for yourselves. Breathe it in. Allow it to expand out your heart space. The gold, the green, and the silver. And a little bit of pink. Just to top it off. With the love from your Creator. And allow yourselves to expand. Feel your vibration as it expands and resonates and goes beyond your physical. Tune into how your physical body is feeling as you do these simple visuals and intentions. And if there is a stuckness, pain, rigidity, dense energies that you sense somewhere within your physical form, call us and your team in now to assist you with the releasing. And if you can, we ask you to stay in this vibration of neutrality and higher perspective awareness. As the release work happens, be the observer as though a movie screen is in front of you as to what little rubber duckies are popping up to be released. And just watch them as though you're watching a television show that is just something on TV. It has nothing to do with your life. It's just a show that you can turn on and off at any time. It's just information. It's just an image from a detached point of view. So we will do this work for a few moments. Allow your energies to settle. If you need to shift your bodies to get comfortable while we do this work, you can settle your bodies and relax. Keep your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath and settle in and breathe. And after the release work is complete, we will fill in any voids. Simply do the first part now. Allow this to unfold from a space of compassion for yourselves and for the world around you. Maintain a space of non-judgment. Just be the observer and allow whatever it is to come up to be released. And hand it off to your guides. Hand it to Spirit. and know that it is done. Now intend that the violet ray bathe over you and go through every layer of your field, transmuting anything that was bubbling up to the surface that still might be in your space, these lower vibrations. Anything that was loosened up, transmuted. See yourselves completely enveloped in the violet flame. And now, fill yourselves in once more with the gold. For any little cracks or crevices in your space, in your field, wherever there was releases, intend that they be filled with this beautiful gold light of wisdom, divine wisdom. And see yourselves completely golden. From head to toe. Like an Oscar statue. And allow that gold to fill in the other layers of your field and radiate that vibration out as far as you can imagine. Feeling your expanded angelic being self as though you are spreading your wings, owning your divine power, owning your divine self, full of divine wisdom, knowing that you are walking in a space of compassion for yourself and others, in alignment. And from this expanded state, we shall send healing to your beautiful Gaia and all of humanity. So keep holding this expanded, radiant being self of yours. And imagine your beautiful Gaia in the center of the room. And allow this golden energy to flow through you and bathe over your world. Touching all sentient beings with this gold for wisdom, intending that all humans take what they are willing and ready to receive and allow them to integrate it in their own divine timing, for their own path, for their own awakening, for their own shift in consciousness, whatever is appropriate for them. And now allow the silver ray of compassion to bathe over your world, for all living things, for all conscious things, beings, that includes the animals and the plants, the water, the rocks, for everything has a conscience, a consciousness, not a conscience. For everything is consciousness, just varying degrees of it. Wrap your beautiful Earth Mother as though she were being wrapped like a beautiful gift of silver and gold. And add the pink with the love of your Creator, Source. intending that this pink ray go especially to all hospitals, prisons, and places of worship. For there is much negativity that is left in these areas. And add the violet to transmute the negativity in these spaces as well. So the violet to transmute, and have the pink to bathe in and fill in with love, along with the gold and the silver. There are many joining you in this endeavor at this time. Other angelic beings and beings of love and light assisting you. Send this beautiful love and compassion, the intention for all the elementals who are assisting with the water and the air and the fire and the ether to help maintain a balance with your beautiful Gaia. To thank them for their efforts. And anyone at this time that you know needs healing, simply envision them in front of you and wrap them in this rainbow of light. You can add the green for healing. Now once more, send these energies to your friends and families, perhaps areas where you work, where you spend your time. Raise the vibration in those locations so that you feel more comfortable when you spend time there. Send healing to your pets or those that you know, any animals. Now once again, bathe yourselves in this gold and pink and silver. Your vibrations are clearer and stronger each time we do this work. So allow yourself time to integrate the shifts, the knowledge, the teachings, and the practice. Be gentle with yourselves, dear ones, and practice the compassion for yourself. Work on the compassion for others. Sometimes it seems that people are easier to be compassionate toward others and less toward themselves, but you cannot give what you have not yet learned to give yourself. So focus on you and your growth and your work and your awareness, and allow things to line up so as you and each individual around this planet raise their vibration, it affects everything. That is how powerful each of you are, and it is cumulative in a manner of speaking. As more raise their vibration, it is more palatable for those who are aware that the vibration is being raised. And you are assisting your other brothers and sisters to awaken at we will just say, a gentler pace. Because the vibrations that your planet is going into at this time will allow them to awaken, we shall say, with more ease and grace than there would have been with lower energies on the planet. So our blessings to you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will speak again soon. Good night.